How's it going, people? So we have now seen the Waratahs play the Lions, and the Lions came out victorious. They ended up winning 21-10 in a not so convincing performance. Yes, there have been better performances, and I do feel that the Waratahs did give them a little bit of leeway at certain points in the game. So I want to break down this game. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe, and let's break this down. So, first up, there were a couple talking points here, and I do feel that the the Lions, they weren't up to par. I constantly do tend to feel that they are always starting slow. We looked at what happened in the last game. They were really punished early on in the first half, and they really struggled to get back into the groove. Now, albeit the Waratahs did put in a much better performance than what the Reds did. They kept things a lot tighter. Yes, there were also a couple tries that were disallowed, but it was a difficult game. I felt a lot of the Lions did not put into performance that was needed. There were certain Lions that really performed. Like, I enjoyed the performance of James Ryan. I think from when he came on for Ollie Chessum in the last game, he put in another very good performance here. I think his stocks have risen. Pierre Skuman, I feel he's been that third choice loose head behind Genge and Porter, but I think the performance that he had today has jumped him up as well. Loving the Tui Pelutu and Hugh Jones partnership, as always, one of the best partnerships in world rugby. I mean, we look at Jones' try where they just connected. We just saw Jones just fly straight through, So there was a little bit of talking points on who would have defended it, how they could have defended it. But sorry, when you're working at that pace with that split second decisions, it's that's very difficult to handle. And Hugh Jones is so quick, you know, and he's just slippery. So yeah, that was good. I'm really enjoying that. Obviously, we do have the Ringrose Aki partnership as well, which I do like. I'm a little bit more preferential towards the Hugh Pelutu partnership, and I do honestly think that they are going to be the test partnership when they do play Australia. But still very good. Now, in saying that, there are a couple of performances which I felt were very underwhelming. Ty Burn, I felt that he did not play as he normally would. Normally when the performances that you come to expect from Ty Burn um, are are at a very high level. Now, I'm not a big fan of Ty Burn at six. I do tend to prefer him at a five, um, and I think there are going to be positions open for this. Obviously, James Ryan, his stocks have gone up. There is always Ollie Chessum, who he had a pretty good game. Ty Burn, he's a legend of the sport. The guy, he is absolutely phenomenal, but his performances haven't exactly been like wow, amazing. Especially in this game, um, I wasn't too convinced with him. Same thing with players like Ben Earl. Like, he had a good game, right? Ben Earl had a good game, but I do feel he just lacked that little bit of that end product. Like, he would do all the legwork and then just wouldn't finish it off. When a pass would be needed, he would hold on to it. When something needed to be done, he would take those extra few seconds. That he just wasn't clinical at that back end. Maybe that's just me from what I've seen, but I felt he did everything right until the end, right? And then he would make the wrong decision. So, but otherwise, he had a pretty good game. Same thing with Mitchell. I felt Alex Mitchell, he had a pretty good second half of the game. I always enjoy watching Mitchell play. I just love his style. His second half was pretty good. Wasn't too convinced in the beginning, and then even Finn Smith, he was quiet. He wasn't able to gel that attack, get that attack going. That I don't know. He just felt off. Yeah, it could have been the Waratahs. It could have been adjusting to the temperatures, the area, the rev. I don't know what it is, but he just felt off. If that makes sense. And when we're talking about coming into the test fixtures, this is where you want to be kind of showing your best foot, because right now, in my opinion, Finn Russell, hands down starter. He really is the hands down starter. I think Ben White's probably gonna be third choice. I'm probably gonna see Marcus Smith at third choice. Owen Farrell, he can play at a 10. He can also play at a 12. So, or we could see Owen Farrell in the bench. There's a lot of different combinations here. But I don't think this game has done Finn Smith any justice. I don't think Mitchell did any major justice either. Honestly, I am expecting to see Gibson Park and Finn Russell partnership come the tests, and then we'll just kind of see who mixes and matches, in and around the bench. But yeah, like I say, the team, yes, they ended up winning 21-10, and they managed to put in some good work, but I just feel things needed to be done because the Waratahs are not going to be like the Aussies. They're not going to be like the Wallabies. They are going to be very difficult. They're going to be very hard to break down, and a lot of the gifts you can say that the Waratahs allowed them and gave to them, they're not going to have that with Australia, right? Australia is going to be far more defensively strong. They're going to be able to work the ball in offense much quicker than what the Waratahs did. And I think if decisions went other ways, we could have seen the Waratahs be much closer than what they did up against the Lions today. So, yeah, honestly, I, and again, this might just be me, I feel there was a big Elliot Daly gap that was left here. Um, I don't know. This Lions tour, since Elliot Daly was there, he's made impact. He's put in those performances. He had a lot of good performances until he got injured. And honestly, he was my bang on bench player. That player who's going to cover the back. And, you know, he's the kind of player that when you come on, he's going to put in the effort. He's going to give you some results. And I just feel that again, it was off. It was lackluster. And Elliot Daly, he brings in that energy, So I'm actually really sad to see Elliot Daly leave the tour. Obviously, we are getting Owen Farrell as well, but yeah, I um, wasn't too happy. I wasn't too happy with that. And I guess the biggest thing is times we just lacked energy. You know, the Lions just lacked that cutthroat. Um, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like when you were there, it's just that ferocity, that mm, that oomph, that oomph, which I feel that they were missing. So, and they are going to need that oomph up against Australia. So there are a lot of players are going to be given more chances to kind of show and to give Andy Farrell a good idea on who he's going to have for the tests. But honestly, there are a few players in my mind that have kind of secured their places. That's Dan Sheehan at hooker. That is Finn Russell and Gibson Park as that halfback pairing. Um, I do feel that Jack Morgan, he's pretty much secured himself a place as a starting back row. I'm still on the edge about Blair Kinghorn and Hugo Keenan. I do feel Hugo Keenan will ultimately keep his spot, but then have Blair Kinghorn on the bench to come on and cause havoc. I do feel that Kinghorn's performances in general have been better than Keenan, but I just feel for how I think Australia's going to be is Keenan's going to start, and then Kinghorn will end up coming off of the bench and be cover for 14 to 15. I prefer Kinghorn at a 15. I feel he plays better. He's given more time. He's given more space to think and to really digest everything. So that would be me to have him. But if I'm looking at my team right now, right? Looking at who would be where, I would probably put my backs as Gibson Park, Finn Russell, and then James Lowe, Tommy Freeman, Huey Palutu, and then Keenan, right? And having Blair Kinghorn, either or, you know. So I think that's probably going to end up being the test fixture, the test backs. And then the back row, there's still so much, so much shifting and changing. That's going to be a difficult one for Andy Farrell. And I feel we aren't necessarily going to have a consistent back row because they're all just going to be fighting for everything. And when you're dealing with the quality of players that you have, I think it's going to be difficult. So I don't think anybody's really going to have a spot on place in the back row. I think we probably will end up seeing Ty Burn and Maro Toje lock in that space as locks. But James Ryan is definitely putting in a good shout for him. And then my front three, this is difficult because obviously Pierre Schoolman, I love the way he plays. He's just got that presence about him, but I do still feel Ellis Genge and Porter are still just slightly above. Right now, I'd probably place Genge as the front runner to start. Dan Sheehan, he's hands down outright starting at hooker. And then I'm still not certain about the tight head because Finley Bealham is actually putting in a very good shout. He's putting in a very good shout for him, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was to start for the Australian tour. But yeah, there's still a lot of contention going out there. So I don't know. There's still so much up in the air. I wasn't happy with the performance. I think they are going to need to improve a lot. A lot of them are still going to be given a couple more chances to see how they fare before Andy Farrell obviously has to make his decision. But yeah, let me know what your starting 20, let's say starting 15 would be if we had to take all the performances to date and put them for Australia. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, please do like and subscribe. It does help the channel. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.